Welcome to Mission Sports TV. This is The Locker Room. I'm your host, Dave DeRocher, joined by my brother, Tim Busy. How are you, Tim?
My brother, always good to see you. I'm doing well, my man. Excited for this episode.
Yeah, boy. I think I say this every week, too, is that, wow, look at this. I'm being so redundant, but it fits,
It's the truth. No.
So, but one quick side note, we were talking about this, and for all our Aztec brothers out there, they're about to demolish our stadium, old Qualcomm Stadium. Was it SDCCCCC something? I don't know. It's Qualcomm. So, it's Jack Murphy. It's Jack Murphy Stadium. That's how old I am. And they're going to demolish it this Sunday. A bunch of Aztec brothers, we're going to get together, get on the field, take some photos, steal a chair, do something just to reflect on the memories there that propelled us to so many different things and opportunities. So anybody that's watching, guys, reach out to me if you haven't gotten the invite. It's this Sunday, the 1st, from 1 to 3.
Yes, sir.
So we'll get some different generations of Aztecs out there.
Love it.
It'll be a lot of fun. So anyhow, yeah. So back to our rock star, our guest, and the things he talks about in overcoming a childhood tragedy, which many would reflect on, to becoming an 11-year NFL veteran, 3-time Pro Bowl, first-round draft pick guy, is amazing. And I think it's a great message for anybody, any of our younger people that maybe is dealing with some type of adversity.
Yeah. I mean, going back to that injury and just having the words that his mother spoke over him, and accepting that and believing that, that's really what drove him to eventually be able to walk again, play sports, and the rest is history. We'll let you guys hear the story, but I mean, the belief and the power of words and how they come to life, it's special when you have someone speak those words over you, that blessing, accept it and live it. And that's exactly what he did.
And you said it, and I think we touched on it in the interview, and that is, those words of positivity, positive thought. And the power of the mind is not something you realize when you're young. But I can assure you that the way you think and the people you surround yourself with and the goals that you set and the positive mindset propels you so much further than self-doubt or negatives or, finding the things that are wrong with everything. Those things are going to stop you, because that's where you're going to focus on, is how wrong things are, or I can't do that. But Donte, man, I'm going to do that. And probably people thought when he's sitting there in a body cast, well, guy, hey, how about walk first? So he the positive mind, and then to have the grit to do.
That's the word right there. Yep.
The work, and then that continued into his high school, into the NFL, and grit is something I think that we don't see enough of. Is people willing to do whatever it takes and sacrifice other things to get what they want.
Right.
So what other thoughts you got about what Donte had to share, or were we good?
No, I think you're spot on with that. The grit, and as you start to go down that journey, you start to build that self-confidence within yourself when you start seeing the results. So stay the course, stay true to your belief, and go ahead and go after it. Like you said, don't let anything stop you. Don't let anybody stop you. If you have it in your heart and your heart's set on it, go for it.
Yep, I agree. All right, guys. Hey, so when we come back, we're going to have our guest Donte Whitner, and take a look at this short clip. We are actually meeting next week to start getting our camps scheduled out for 2021. So stay tuned for that, and we're looking forward to see all our young people out and getting to work. Anyhow, take a look at this clip. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back into the locker room. We are joined by our guest, Mr. Busy. Please do the honors of introducing Donte.
Yes, an 11-year NFL veteran, a 3-time Pro Bowler, the 8th overall pick, a first-team All-American from the Ohio State University. He now resides in Newport Beach, where he works as an NFL analyst with NBC Sports, covering the 49ers. He's an investor in real estate, public equities, private equity, and the VC space. Welcome to the show, Donte Whitner.
How you doing,
Thanks
buddy?
for having me, guys. Thanks for having me.
Well, I'm glad you agreed to come on. You know, we are truly humbled every week with the folks that are willing to give us some time to speak to our young people that we're trying to reach and give them wisdom from people that have been through it, done it. And it's been good and bad, Donte. We've had guests that have been, you know, in a bathtub wanting to end their life. And then we've had others that have just persevered through life, through their faith and sticking and staying the course. And so we don't know where this is going to go, but I'm just glad you're here. And we always like to start with, give us some insight to you growing up and, you know, whether it be your family life, but, you know, how sports and faith, if they work together when you were younger.
Well, I learned about belief early, and not just in a certain religion, but belief in self. And I grew up in Cleveland, Ohio, single parent household. When I was 6 years old, I was hit by a car, right? I was hit by a car, playing in the driveway, ball hits the wire with a cousin. I run out there without looking, car hits me, speeding. I flip over the car, wake up in this big tube, right? So at that time, I'm in a full body cast, and the doctors tell me that I'm not going to walk and I'm not going to ever play sports.
Wow.
So with that situation in hand, I went 3 months in a full body cast, went through the whole rehab process, and then eventually was able to walk simply because my mom implanted in me that I would walk. She never mentioned sports at that time, but you know, I don't think that you can always believe what doctors say. So went through the whole rehab process, sitting outside one day, saw one of my friends riding to a football practice with his pads and everything on. So I said, you know, one day when I'm healthy enough, I'm gonna follow him up there. I eventually get healthy enough to be able to walk, run. I go up there on my bike one day after school, started participating in the drills. It comes time to get our football equipment, but guess what? You need a signature from a parent to be able to get your equipment. So, you know, I knew that my mom wouldn't allow me based on, you know, my history and the injury that I just had. So I forged her signature. Figured out a way to duplicate her signature, forged it, took it up there and got my equipment and started playing football. The only reason she found out is because my uncle actually signed my cousin up for football, saw me out there one day and went home and told my mother, like, you signed your son up for football? She's like, my son don't play football. And he was like, well, yes, he does. And guess what? He's really good. Right? She comes up there, finds out I'm playing football, tells me that I can't. So it's a tug of war now. I'm still in my equipment, hiding it, still sneaking up to practice. She's still at work, working third shift, so she doesn't know. So then eventually she finds out again. She compromises with me, allows me to play football. And that's how my story started. In Cleveland, Ohio, from an impoverished community where 40% is below the poverty line, you know, and it all happened with self-belief. Then it moves on to me being good in Little League football. I started getting a lot of interest from all the Catholic schools and the private schools in the area. They started to come to the games. I'm setting records, right? And now they all want me to attend their school. I choose a school named Benedictine, who was a Catholic school in Cleveland, Ohio, east side of Cleveland. End up going there, didn't like it, right? I didn't like it. I just didn't like the whole all boys thing, right? It was just like, I just need other mixture of people for me to be happy. And it was always about being happy and following my own intuition. And my mom allowed me to do that. So then I end up transferring from there, a private school to a public school, Glenville High School, pretty much in the ghetto of Cleveland, Ohio. And I heard all the whispers at a young age about how I wasn't going to be much if I made this decision, and I should, you know, stay at the school even though I'm not happy. And I felt like I had to follow my own intuition. End up getting over to Glenville High School, and we ended up having a great, amazing run over there. I think right now we have 27 NFL players out of that school, 350 plus Division I scholarships, the most captains on Ohio State in the Big Ten history from one school. 10 first round, 5 first round draft picks, right? We have a Heisman Trophy winner, just a bunch of guys. And I was actually the first guy drafted out of that school based on an early decision and self-belief that came from not only my mom, myself, but another head coach that I had in Cleveland, Ohio, called Coach Gann Sr., who is Ted Gann Sr., Jr., that's in the NFL. That's his dad. So it all started with self-belief from an early age, all the way through high school and the mid-years, just belief in self. If you believe it, then you will get it.
Man, just backing up all the way to that injury first and foremost, and your mom just speaking things into existence. It's so important, the words that we speak, man. They come to life. And when you have someone in your corner and speaking that positivity, and like you said, when you accept it and you believe it, man, anything is possible. And
absolutely, and especially when you do it at a certain age. When you catch kids as adolescent, like before the age of 9, and you're speaking that positivity into their brain on a consistent basis, you can maneuver and make a child any way that you want them based on affirmations.
Right.
And a lot of people don't do that, and they let their frustrations seep into their children, and then that's when you have so much trauma in the later years.
Gosh, man. And then also very cool that you were the first one drafted out of that school. I'm sure you paved the way, and people really look up to you and talk about legacy. That's what it's all about, man.
And that's harder as well. When you're the pioneer to something, or you're the first to do something, it's harder because you don't really have that physical thing to look and be like, oh, he did it.
The blueprint.
Now I can do it. You have to go strictly based on how much hard work you put in and your day-to-day results. So it's harder for that person not having that actual visual thing to be able to follow. So I don't take credit for it all, but I do think it was a big thing. Like seeing somebody say, hey, I played for the same team, same college, lived 2 streets over, and went top 10. Oh man, I can do it.
Right. Well, jumping from that high school to college, we talk about it all the time, Dave and I, how, everyone on the college team was the best in the high school. It's that level up, that next tier. When I'm sure you face challenges at Ohio State, and how did your faith play a role in that belief? Did it continue on? What were some of the challenges that you faced there at Ohio State?
Well, early on, I struggled because our system that I came from in high school wasn't a sophisticated system, which means that it didn't have all the verbal words and the movements and the defensive line playing a certain thing and the backers tied in with the safeties and different calls. Like, it wasn't that sophisticated. It's, hey, cover 2, we're playing it like this. It really don't even matter how you play it, right?
Go out and ball.
So that was pretty much where I struggled at first, getting that structure and understanding that there's structure in what you're doing. You're just not going to just jump out there and just do anything. That's the hardest thing for athletes to understand when they're like transitioning. There's certain ways that you have to go about things and certain rules. And once you learn those rules, it's down to, can you get it done physically? And if you can get it done mentally and you understand it and you can get it done physically, then you can make it happen. So a lot of people struggle with the mental part. A lot of people struggle with the physical, but when you put them both together, you can make anything happen.
You bring up a really interesting point that I don't think a lot of people understand, because then the next leap from the collegiate level in Ohio State is up here. Tim and I are Aztecs. We're San Diego State guys, which was fine. But when you're talking about Ohio State that's playing Michigan and Notre Dame and boom, 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 I mean, that's almost professional level every.
Yeah, it's sophisticated and it's high level, and everything around you is sophisticated and high level. So it actually makes the athletes believe that they're sophisticated and high level, when in general, they're the same as all the other organizations and schools around the country. They just have a different mindset. And when you play that, you can actually see the effect of that. So that goes back to belief as well. So however you want to put it.
Yeah, when you take that next step, I remember, going to the combine. I was asked to play in the Hula Bowl, which was great. I got to play with Thurman Thomas and Tim Brown and Nicky Woods, and that was fun for me. But going to the combine, and I'm used to, I was a 6'7", 300 pounds, being the biggest guy in the room, to being like eye to eye with everybody. I almost felt uncomfortable. I felt almost claustrophobic because I'm trying to get a little bit taller so I can get back up there. And then showing up to camp, and I'm going, holy smokes, these are, I mean, everyone's good. But when you're saying the mental aspect of it, there's so much. I mean, our playbook, the offensive line was like this. Now there were guys physically probably better than I was, but they couldn't figure out this part of it, and how to block a play 5 different ways depending on the slightest movement of that defensive front in front of us. So you have to be able to do both, especially at that level. They're so intricate and so technically bound. But so as you're sitting at Ohio State, now when did it become apparent that it was starting to click for you?
Well, I had a pretty good sophomore year. And then I'm like, you know what? If I really focus for the next 8 months, what could really happen? If I cut off all outside distractions, if I go to no college parties, if I don't drink, if I don't hang out, if I get into bed at a certain time, if I get there early to lift weights, if I study more, if I watch the film more, not just watch it, but know what I'm watching, if I actually put these hours in and I stay up extra hours in the film room, like it would be times when the coaches would be leaving the building, I would take my homework in there to watch all the film from years and years of just all the school film that you could see. And they'll all vouch for this. So if you really want something to happen, you'll go and put those extra hours in. So when they thought I was crazy, sitting in there watching the film or in the weight room when everybody leaving, guess what? I wasn't, right? Because if you want something so bad, you'll do what everybody else think is like crazy or, oh, he's insane. But guess what? You have a path, and if you believe something, you'll put the work in, and then it'll manifest for you. So I always knew that.
Man, that's what I call protecting your vision right there, man.
Absolutely.
Blocking out all distractions.
No vision.
Building an environment that's sustainable, that is conducive to where you want to go.
Absolutely. And then your confidence continues to rise, right? You see yourself getting stronger in there from the extra work you're putting in. You actually see the extra work starting to materialize and create things, what makes you want to put more work into it. You see what I'm saying? Yep. So it was like a big spiral effect of positivity. And that's what I always knew. I've always known that.
Well, I mean, as you're saying that, I just keep thinking back to you as a young man being in a body cast.
Yeah.
And that getting from that to walking, then to playing sport, that, it's almost like God, put you through that. So that way you would have that same focus of being able to, this is what I want. This is what I want to be. And I'm going to do whatever it takes to get there, because most kids probably wouldn't bounce back from an accident like that.
Yeah, most kids probably wouldn't bounce back from that, but I was always wanted to. I don't think when you go back to those times, I even knew what that meant. I didn't know what it meant to be like, oh, he's not going to walk or whatever. I just knew that my mother told me that I would. And then another thing is, when I went to college, I was actually 16 and a half when I enrolled at Ohio State. So remember, Maurice Claret enrolled early, a year before me, and then I was the second person to ever do that. So you see the quarterbacks that enroll early now in spring semester.
Man.
I was the second person in the country to ever do that behind Maurice Claret. So I was 16 and a half, graduated a year early. So you just throw a kid from the inner city, Cleveland, Ohio, onto Ohio State campus at 16 and a half and say, hey, go and figure it out. It was one of the toughest times. At the same time, trying to figure out the football side of it. But if you figure it out, then you're going.
Well, you said after your sophomore year is when you really started feeling comfortable. That's when you probably really started getting that man strength too. You know what I mean? And started developing.
You start to figure out the campus, and you're like, it's a big campus. And to be 16 and a half, first off, I come from an all African-American community, right? Then you get thrown down in Ohio State. It's a culture shock, first and foremost. It's like, whoa,
right.
Where am I? So you got to figure out that part of it, along with the big campus, along with how they operate with college football, the systems, the learning. It's like you really have to sacrifice a lot of things to figure this stuff out, or you will fail.
Well, man, powerful, every single bit of it. Talking a little bit more about, it's lonely at the top. It's, if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go longer, go with somebody. Did you have anyone that you could lean on that was kind of on that same mission as you, and that you can bounce back and forth with each other spiritually and talk about God and talk about your faith?
Yeah, Ted Ginn Jr., all of these guys who were first round picks from my high school.
Yeah.
We all grew up together in a tight knit group of people. So all of this success and things that we were doing always felt normal. So we could always talk to each other about anything, right? So it was different outside the circle that we were in, that we created, but within it, it was like normal every day to day stuff.
Love that. Love that, man. You
Yeah.
need
So, hey,
people.
so draft day. When so for me, draft day was before cell phones. My phone was connected to the wall. No pagers, no nothing. So there was no really form of way of communication. Did you expect to go as high as you went?
Yeah, I did. I even turned down a trip to New York City and all of that.
Yeah.
I didn't want to go. I thought that I should spend it with, most of my family members. It was a cool experience, but I don't think that it was like I saw it before in my head before it happened.
Mhm.
And then it happened. So it didn't excite me as much as I thought it was going to excite me.
Right.
Right. So I think what excited me more was when I made my first Pro Bowl.
Yeah.
It's because now, you can actually make it to the National Football League, get complacent, get an injury, whatever, not make it, not play well, not be able to translate your game to the NFL game. And then you can get to the level and you can be an all-star.
Right.
Right? That's a difference.
Especially being a first round pick, you have those expectations.
It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure, and it breaks a lot of people. Game day is a lot of pressure on game day. When you get on that football field and you got Tom Brady and these boys trying to take your head off and embarrass you, and Aaron Rodgers and all of this sophisticated passing and know how to attack you, been watching you all week on film and want to embarrass you, it's a lot of pressure. So to perform at a high level just for one game is a great feat. To perform at a high level for one whole season is great, but to perform at a high level for years and years and years, that's an incredible thing. So I think I felt a lot more excited when I started to make those type of all-star games, and my peers started to understand and recognize what I could do on the football field.
Yeah. So, aside from the Pro Bowl is probably the highlight, then you'd say, of your NFL career.
Well, we got 4 yards from a Super Bowl against the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, I would say, man, oh.
Yeah, it's funny because
that's a gut wrencher, right?
Yeah, we had Jesse.
First and goal from the 4.
Yeah, Jesse Sapolo.
You don't get in.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's a gut wrench. I cried all night like a baby.
I was going to say that we had Jesse Sapolo, who I've gotten to know pretty well. I worked with him in his Men in the Trenches camps for the past few years, and have become good friends. And he talks about those Super Bowls. And he did some Pro Bowl things too, but the 4 Super Bowls he's won, and those memories. And I think then they lost a couple as well. Like you're saying, they're a couple minutes from a 5th or a 6th. I mean, what an awesome team that is, and what a humble, cool guy is. I know you guys are probably friends because of his affiliation with the Niners.
Yeah.
And so speaking of the Niners, what are you doing with the Niners now?
Well, I do NBC Sports, covering the Niners. I'm there every weekend, and it's going great. This is actually my 3rd year doing it. My first year out of the National Football League, I did Ohio State football. Then I moved on, and now I'm doing NBC in the Bay Area. It's a great learning experience. It's a lot of work, right? And it's just like anything else. It's a craft. And there's many people that's watching. You can either perfect it or you could not perfect it. And I'm in the process of trying to perfect my role on camera. So, it's going pretty cool. It's a lot more work than I actually thought going into it.
Yeah.
It's actually like a full-time job. When football season is on, you better be ready to answer that question, have a great delivery, know which camera to look in. It's like bam, bam, bam. People talking in this ear, somebody talking in this ear. Focus on, fans might be screaming. It might seem like you just get a microphone, but it's a lot more than that. You have to have like laser sharp focus.
And there's a lot of homework, right? You got to know.
Absolutely. You got to have the guys' names you got to be able to pronounce.
Yeah.
What schools they went to. Right, their yardage, and have some general sense of how many yards they caught or ran for, like all of this stuff. stats
Yeah.
for the team, third down, fourth down. They ask you something on the spot, you have to be able to know and be able to deliver. So,
Right.
Yeah, I did a little bit of acting and then doing all of that with a camera in front of you. You know,
absolutely.
that's the thing. There's no you know, cut, retake, back to one, you know, no, it's you're going, and then if you start to stumble, it's easy to start getting down a little rabbit hole. So
Absolutely. So see, I'm getting messages right now from NBC about a show, because when I get off with you guys, I have another show that I'm going to do. It's on Zoom, so it's every Thursday, and we go in and I tell them pretty much what this defense needs to do to affect this offense this week. So this week we have Russell Wilson. Right? And how do you stop Russell Wilson? Well, you can't really stop Russell Wilson.
right.
You can handle the fundamentals better than they handle it, right? But you can't stop Russell Wilson. When you rush Russell Wilson, you have to do it evenly. You have to converge on him. Guys can't get greedy in the middle. No swim moves in the A gap, right? He knock you out of there. He see that lane, he take
it up the middle. Yep.
Exactly. And then there's two elements to their offense. It's the quick game, get the ball out, slants, right? Flat routes. And then it's, okay, that's not open. I'm going to run around. All of my guys are pretty much have the awareness that I need them to have, and they work to get open. And it's hard. It's hard on defenses. You exert a lot of energy when you're playing them, but you can do it. So
because he's got a ton of talent, but he has a ton of talent around him. And, you know, I mean, that game last week against the Cardinals, where he's dropping those moon balls just right in their hand. And Lockett is making some, I mean, he's got some talent. And DK Metcalf running, what is he running, a 4.3?
on the Cardinals defense helped him out. The worst defensive performance I've seen ever.
Was that right? Yeah. So, yeah, but he's been doing it every week.
He gave up, what, 500 something yards?
Yeah.
Can't win like that.
A little bit of defense.
So
What
I was going to say, go ahead, Tim, but I was going to say, I'm sure that's the work he's doing to help guys navigate the financial world. Is that where you're going to go?
Yeah, no, absolutely. How are you helping those guys? And then I was going to also ask second part of the question. I mean, you've had success at every single level, you know, in your career, and then transitioning out now post-career, and just what advice you would give to our young people that are watching. Is there something that's, you know, obviously there's a lot to learn if they watch this whole episode, but what's something that's near and dear to your heart that just always clicked for you, that, you know, if you did that and accomplished that, you would have a better chance of doing what you were capable of?
I would say learn how to meditate. Learn how to meditate. It brings clarity. It gets rid of anger, anxiety, depression, right? It just puts you in a whole new spiritual realm of being. So I would say learn how to meditate first and foremost, for the athletes and the non-athletes. And then I would say read as much as you can. Possibly try to read a chapter a day of a book, right? To keep your mind engaged. You'll be surprised how much you can actually learn and how much you actually don't know, right? I would say understand that being smart and being intelligent is cool. Knowing how to speak well, knowing how to write well, knowing how to use different pronunciations and words well. So knowing the difference between your and your, there and there, and all of these things that seem like they're small, I would say take those things to heart and make sure that you actually understand those things.
Man, appreciate that so much. A lot to learn from your journey. And like you said, man, it's when you can see someone who's done it and you have that blueprint, it's easier to go and follow those steps and make it happen yourself. So appreciate you paving the way, man.
Oh, no problem, man.
You guys,
You
know, Donte, and I didn't know that story about you and your youth, and what a great way to lead this whole thing off, because there's always been an undertone storyline, you know, for you overcoming such a huge hurdle early on, and then to see it manifest itself in everything else that you've done.
Yeah, that was just like one hurdle that I had to overcome. I overcame that my dad was a heroin addict, right? He was a heroin addict. He spent 22 years of my now 35 in prison. So it was a multitude of different things, but it was always my mom that kept me on the right track. It was always my mom that made sure that even if I started to even creep any way towards a little bit of trouble, she would find a way to get me back on the narrow path.
Mhm.
So a lot of times the kids need to just listen to your parents and you'll be okay, because you don't know what your parents know, right? They might not be smarter than you. They just have 30, 40 years on you, right?
Life experience, man.
Exactly.
That's what
So
it's
just
about.
look at it like that, so that you don't have to make the mistakes that other people made. And that's like, it sounds so cliche, but it's the real thing and it's the right thing to listen to. Just listen to the people that have come before you, and you'll skip past so many mistakes in life.
And they have an unconditional love. So anything they're saying to you
Yeah.
is for your best interest. There's no
Yeah.
ulterior motive to what they're saying. They're not going to guide you in the wrong direction. Whatever your parents are telling you, man, it's because they love you and want the best for you. You got to at least give them that. Yeah. So, hey, man, thank you so much for being on our show. It was great. And we didn't even get a chance to talk about all the cool financial stuff you're doing.
Oh, I'll be back. Don't worry. I'll be back. Don't worry.
You'll be around. So yeah, we're doing a lot of work with the NFLPA and different things. Donte's got his hands in so many great deals, and we're going to be doing stuff in the community together. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Hey, Tim, tell everybody where they can find us.
Yes, follow us on Instagram, guys. Mission Sports Network, on YouTube as well. Subscribe to our channel. We want to hear from you guys. We're on Facebook too. I know some of you guys are still out there on Facebook. We want to hear from you guys, though. I mean, this is a community. We're trying to build something special together and help each other on each other's journey. So reach out and let's start that conversation.
And Donte, if somebody wants to reach out to you or find you, is there anything? Is there a place where they can do that?
You can find me on Twitter at Donte Whitner, and they can find me on Instagram at Donte Hittner, the number 39. I got to get that number off of there. I want that 39 off of there.
Right on, brother. Hey, thanks for joining us. Hey, I appreciate it. Everybody, be good teammates. Love and respect each other. All right, we'll see you next time.
Have a good one.